cover, first of all, recreation, part of our budget for 2016. And we're going to talk about several items of the temporary budget that we have to get sunshine in. And also, there's a TO change for the fire department, which also includes a municipal employee. Oh, okay.
Fire, police, and
Fire, police, and the force. So we're going to go over all that stuff, so everyone's aware of everything this evening. But first, I'm going to let Mary Beth, our Parks and Rec Director, start off and give us her short, sweet budget for 2016.
Short, sweet, and to the point. On the table in front of everybody are two proposed budgets for the department. The first was when we initially thought we were going to cut the department completely. I came back to the administration and said, look, for $170,000, this is what we can do. The second is, as the proposed budget currently sits, what we can and what we can't do. Basically, the large difference between the two is both of them are going to rely heavily on the current Adopt a Park program. We struggled this year with keeping up with the maintenance of the parks, so we're really going to go back out to the community and ask for additional assistance on that. And the other biggest is the recreational aids, and if we cut out that component, how that's going to affect the recreation center. There's alternatives for funding the recreational aids. They can go through the senior employment program and job and family services, or there's other potential opportunities that could save the city money, but both of those programs have cons as well. So, hi Willie.
Hey, how are you?
Come on in.
Well, come on in.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just telling we just got started on your part of the meeting.
That's the budget for 107 minus the rec. I also put in there, I kind of reflected upon what we accomplished in 2015. I wanted everybody to see kind of what we did and where we want to grow into 2016. I've also included some of our potential capital improvement projects. The one essential project is we have to replace the roof over the activity room of the rec center. It's leaking and it's causing damage to the building. So we have to get that roof fixed as soon as possible. We also have to address sidewalks or the lack thereof to the shelters at Joe Woods and Bellevue. If we don't, there could potentially be some compliance laws and lawsuits coming back at us. So that's a minor, but an easily addressed. Yes.
Just point out that those capital improvements, we can use the sales tax money.
That's all out of that $100,000. And then I'm still going to continue to explore like the Nature Works grant that we just received for Murphy's Field, the county commissioner's recreation grants to replace the other playgrounds at the top lots that need replaced. Yes, sir.
In the Adopt a Park portion of your future, have you compiled a list of possible candidates? In other words, people that we can reach out to, maybe check each park, each neighborhood, and check into like who close to there, what church, what civic group, what youth organization, or something like that would be in that neighborhood or close to, that we may reach out to them. So maybe come up with Rotary and Lions Clubs and things like that maybe we can reach out to and see where we can go with that.
I have not, but I'll be more than happy to. Yes, sir.
Where's the budget at?
There was two sheets attached that were loose.
It should look like this.
There's one that was my type, and then there was the one that came from finance.
That's the budget sheet.
So the one that I typed was the proposed that I come back with, the $170,000, that was mine. And then the other is what's in the current proposed draft budget.
And that's
Yes.
This
What
one
is
here?
that one there? And what is not in there currently is also the pool. Right now, we are at proposing zero. Dave and I were talking that we would like to operate it, but that remains to be seen as to whether we can or can't.
Okay, so 2016 would have no full operations during the summer.
Correct.
temporary project.
Temporary.
If we pass the permanent, we need to get that in there.
All right, so if the goal of council in 2016 is to open up the pool, then what about the slide? Is that going to be just dismantled and taken away, or how are you going to address the slide?
What I'll probably do, reflecting upon the project and the extent of the damage that's been done to the slide, we'll probably scrap that project and look at adding a different feature. So we can add a different slide, or we can add a spray feature, we can add something to make it a place folks want to come to.
Not necessarily in 2016.
Correct. There's rock walls now that are aquatic friendly, there's all kinds of different features. When I go to OPRA conference in the winter, they're always coming out with something. So the vendors are there, I'll talk to them and see what they've got. Speaking of conference, the other part of the budget, I have eliminated training and education. I feel that if I or my staff want to do it, I or my staff can pay for it. So when I go to OPRA conference in January, it'll all come out of my pocket, and I don't have a problem with that.
Very good. We had talked about last week, I think, about the summer food program, and it was brought up that there's other organizations that are all the Steubenville school system is doing it, and also some private individuals.
The school's doing 2 sites currently. They're doing Harding in the high school, and Manfred's is doing a backpack lunch for the kids on the weekends. Currently, I'm looking at eliminating 2 more sites for ours, paring it down to 3, and reaching out to like Manfred's and some of the other folks to see if maybe we can work together for the program.
So what those programs entail will not be enough to cut this program out completely, is
No,
what you're saying?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
But if I can, Greg, but Dave, the proposed budget in the
Yes.
binders does include full funding for summer food.
It
At this
does.
point.
Well, actually, it allows for about $18,500 and by way of a match if necessary. But the grant does pay a significant portion of the program, but we probably have some costs based on how the
Yeah,
reimbursements are calculated.
The way the grant is structured is the city has to contribute a portion towards the program. And that portion changes every year. So unfortunately, I don't know how much it's going to be. This year it was about 15% of what we had to match, and then the grant paid for everything else. So we're looking at, eliminating sites, cutting back on staffing, and looking at ways to partner and shop around for the meals to see if we can get the best bang for our buck and still provide the service to the kids in the summer.
And just for a quick breakdown here, I guess this is the first part. This first part here is without maintenance staff. That's
Correct.
Part-time work. Is that correct?
That we were going to rely on the adoptive park, and we were going to explore possibly contracting it out.
So then, director's salary and benefits package, $70,000. That's just you.
Correct.
Utilities. That's for what?
That's for all, everywhere. That was pool, Bellevue, everywhere.
Jim Woods.
Jim Woods, MLK, everywhere.
Motor maintenance. That's gas and oil is for just
Truck, my truck,
the one
the
vehicle.
one vehicle.
Refunds $5,000 for money that we sent back to people. That,
Correct.
And recreation center indoor supplies. Okay, that's all that's programs. The $8,000. That's for like the Easter thing or the Christmas
Correct.
pageant they have. Summer food office. Okay, that's 170 budget with maintenance. Their salaries are not included in $170,000.
And theirs was roughly another 110,000 on top of that.
Where would those 2 go?
M&R.
All right, so then so the budget's going to reflect them under M&R. So we're really not
Get rid of
the expense, and that's what I wanted to point out. It's just being moved to a different department and under different management of that department.
They're in the parks budget right now.
Right now, but under her budget without that would be done and slide over to the Football Affairs Department, and he would be the director of overtime.
And
So,
and the
how
potential
we-
problem with that could be, we struggle to keep up now. If they move to M&R, they get put in filling potholes, for example. They're not going to be in Jim Woods mowing or weeding. So You know, we have the Adopt a Park program, it's a great program, and we've got some great folks that have taken up, stepped up and taken over, but, you know, you're also at the mercy of volunteers, so.
Now, am I reading this, this is without the pool, correct?
Correct, that eliminated the pool completely,
What, with the pool, what would the increase be?
about 50,000, 60,000,
To keep broken through something?
correct. And we would look at ways to run like the concession stand and, you know, try to bring as much revenue back into it as we can.
Which we didn't do.
We did not do this year.
I think we should leave the two individuals under Parks and Rec, mainly because I believe that next year we're going to take full advantage of the community service program. Judge Mazzio will be sentencing people to community service, and we're going to need somebody. They don't supervise them, but someone has to be there. They show up, they either cut grass, they don't cut grass, and all our people do is, at the end of the day, they tell the judge, they cut grass, they showed up, they didn't show up. They showed up and they sat on their butts all day. So that's a great, for a city that's in desperate need of resources, that's a great way to clean up some of these parks, is to take advantage of the port system.
And we currently use them now. We use them at a very small scale because we struggle to be able to get them. So like we had them today and they were emptying trash cans at the rec center and picking up trash and stuff. So we are currently using them, but my hope is that if he does, maybe they can expand and their availability will open up and we'll be able to use them more. But we really struggled to get them this year.
I think he wants to meet with council at the beginning of the year, and he can explain to us how he wants to really roll this out. His only concern is the city has to have somebody there to not supervise them, but just to be there to say, yeah, he showed up, he didn't show up. He lasted 8 hours, he left after 2 hours. That's all they have to do.
But they gotta give them some kind of directive, right? Tell them
Yeah.
to cut down there to field 3.
That's clear, yeah.
Okay.
Today you're gonna cut field 3, tomorrow you're gonna cut Jim Wood.
Sure, we need that hill.
Read that hill, and if they say, no, I'm not, they don't worry about it. They just turn it in.
And we'll also use the CAC youth again. We use them a lot and they're very beneficial for us. So we'll get them again this summer.
But if we move them to M&R, like you said, they could be filling, then we have nobody to take advantage of the community service workers.
And I'm willing to jump on a mower and mow too. I mean,
You only can do so much.
Just on that community service program, and I agree, it could be very vital. I don't even think we have to be on top of the people. I think we have to be there when they show up, give them their task, and check on them at the end of the day and see if their task is done. So you really don't have to have Larry or Daryl or yourself sit there for 8 hours with them. You could be doing something else and just checking on them. So that's
or they can
important.
be like, say Larry loads up the mower and goes to Jim Woods. He can take one with him. They can weed eat while he's mowing. So.
And he can leave 2 of the other ones at Bellevue and tell them, when I
Right.
get back, this should be done. And that's the way that's supposed to be.
I do think it'd be a good idea to meet after, let's develop a plan for how it would work. I suppose there's some direction, we won't call it supervision, we'll call it direction, that needs to be a part of it, but, you know, obviously, and I would agree, we might need to, obviously, we need to come up with different models and different ways to do things, and that's what we're constantly.
Because the more you can put people in community service, the better for us to get service out of them, and the better for us financially, because they don't go to jail, and we don't pay for their incarceration, their food, their medical, so it's a win-win all the way around for these non-violent offenders.
So I take council's view is to do the bottom, the budget with the salary and benefits of the maintenance staff staying under the Parks and Rec.
Can I ask a question, Mary Beth, on the top proposal of your budget, $170,000 without the maintenance staff line? Notice you have utilities projected at $53,000. However, when we add the maintenance staff in there, you reduce that down to $40,000. That's a $13,000 difference.
That was a typo that I didn't get back in.
So we are adding,
Yeah.
we're going to make it 53, so we're
Yeah.
going to add to that bottom line, $13,000. Is that correct? Okay. And then on the programs, on the top, you have 8,000 that you estimated for the programs. However, down below, again, with the maintenance of people, you reduced that to 4,000, you cut that in.
That was to bring the maintenance back in. I was trying to cut some things so that we could bring them back into the department. 8,000 would be ideal for programming. We could potentially do it for, it would rely heavily on donations and sponsorships, but 8 would help be able to do what we currently do.
But if we add the maintenance people, you're saying you believe we can do it for 4,000?
It would be tight, but yes.
So, Mayor, then that's 270 plus
13.
13.
That's why I'm trying to get some figures here. There's one other question I had, that building materials and supplies for the parks, you have at 17,000, but it's not in your $170,000 budget.
It wasn't in the original because we were eliminating the maintenance, they were sending it to M&R. So it would have come out of something else. That's why.
And your supplies for like the MLK Center and all?
Which is under that building supply and door.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I had about 13
All right, so bottom budget with the staff, that's where council direction is headed. The bottom one is council direction.
Okay.
To keep the guys working underneath us, underneath the Parks and Rec staffing. Any other questions for Mary Beth? From council? No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council said the budget books. We're going to get into the temporary budget, so everybody knows about the temporary budget will fund operations first 3 months. And by March 31st, 2016, council has to adopt a permanent budget for 2016. David's going to talk about it and the corresponding pieces of legislation that needs to be sunshine this evening. So Dave, you want to talk about the temporary budget and include in there also at the end the TO change for the fire as well.
Sure, yeah, we've got everything. I think everybody's had a chance to review it, and the temporary budget is just basically 1/4 of what the proposed operating budget is. The CIP, it would be passed next week too. Both would be emergency legislation. They kind of go hand in hand. And then we also have table organization that needs, it's just the wage adjustments that are contractual wage adjustments. The one for police is a result of the fact finding, and the fire was already under contract, a small increase. And then in there is the TO change for municipal court. It's a grant funded position. It's part of that $90,000 grant that Judge Massey has spoken to us about, so there's no cost to the city on that. But we need to get that through also as emergency, so everything can be in place for the first of the year. If anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer about the budget or any of the pending legislation.
You want to go?
During our budget hearings, I think within wastewater, we questioned the overtime, and I think Chuck was going to look into whether it was more economical to hire a person to reduce that overtime. And the other one was on the water bill, if you pay your bill with a credit card, you charge, we eat that 3%. I thought that we were going to charge the customer that, and I see in the budget that $45,000 is still being budgeted. Have we looked into that? And has Chuck looked into whether it's more economical to hire the person or not?
Chuck did mention to me that he did look into it. He said what he did mention it would be probably about the same cost or a little bit more if we ended up hiring an additional position. And then the utility fee we were going to address at the next utility meeting. We have been looking into that.
I know you're not Chuck, I'll address this to Tim. If the cost is basically the same, wouldn't it be better to have another person? Because That would probably be equal. If it's equal, what, a better part, another person?
I think what council needs to see, and myself, let's have the numbers, let's see exactly where it's at. I'll ask, I know Chuck is going to be putting together, we're not going to have a utility committee meeting this month, we're going to put a report together that's going out, I hope on Friday. I'll see if he has those numbers and can provide them.
I mean, we got time to go.
I would agree. Well, yeah, and I mean, if it's roughly equal, we can do it.
But that's something we should look into at the beginning of the year, to
I
see
agree.
which way you want to go.
But would an additional person also help if there was a sickness in the department cut off more of the time from that standpoint? So ultimately, down the line, you probably would save money in the event of any sickness or injury. And then you're training somebody new for attrition purposes.
We, I think as everyone is aware, we reduced all of our staff, and certainly M&R, Parks and Rec, and utilities needs more personnel if we can afford it. So if we can, I think if Chuck can show that there's either a savings or it's roughly budget neutral, I don't know why we wouldn't hire somebody.
Don't mistake it on that and stuff.
I agree.
On the TO changes, go over that. So police is our fire based on our contractual pay raises we have to give by labor contract. And then you also have municipal court. There is a grant, and the reason why this is under an emergency basis is because there's a grant that we need to get this person hired for Judge Massio. Or else we would lose that money.
Right.
Right.
That's how it's set up.
A grant in the report, you think? I didn't hear.
Grant for the employee.
The grant covers the cost of that employee, so if any delay in the legislation, we would lose that money.
Any questions on that, TO?
Well, I have one question. I don't know if it's actually on the TO or not about that, concerning the police contract with finances. I got several calls about this insurance for the police department, about they're the only ones affected by the hospitalization.
They're not the only one, it's anybody non-contract employees.
But the AFSCME is not affected by it in the fire department.
That was a negotiated section of the contract between police and the city, and our attorney who negotiated that section has advised us that just affects them and not the other two unions.
Can you explain that section? Because I just understand it. That's all. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, in the past, the unions, we've gone to a board, that helped
That cost
contain. But this time, when it was negotiated, because it was negotiated differently, this is what our attorney has told us, and it was just negotiated with the police, and that when we go into negotiations at the end of this year with the two other unions, we're going to be, pushing for the same way that it was costed out, with the.
They're not in that cost containment thing anymore, is that?
That's from what our attorney told us, the way he negotiated it, that we didn't need that. Now this will go to arbitration, and they've asked for it to go to arbitration. An arbitrator will take a look at it and decide.
Oh, that section has gone to.
Right. Yeah. So we should be in arbitration like within the next month or two.
Oh, I didn't.
And like I said, we're following the advice of Mike S.C., who was our attorney, as he felt it just pertained to that.
Thank you.
Great. Budget questions? Most of it's going to be addressed in the new year. As long as we pass this under emergency, we'll be able to pay bills and salaries January 1. That's set for the state. That's the reason why it's under emergency, to at least get a temporary budget so this city can operate, pay its bills and pay its salaries. 2016.
You gonna have any kind of budget, temporary or other? We'll take a temporary.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just point out also in the books that we have, in my opinion, there's a very important section that's towards the end, and it's the schedule of the proposed upcoming renewal levies, and it gives the timetable, as we're completely aware. In 2016, back March, which is right around the corner, we'll have the 3/10 and the 7/10, so we need to start preparing for that right after the first of the year.
Mayor, and that our 5 mil levy is, I believe, is going to be in 2017.
November 2017.
Renewals, exactly. Tim?
I don't know,
else on the budget?
if there's any other questions,
Yeah.
but I think it's, this is the point we've arrived at, and administration's ready to move forward.
Okay.
The council, again, takes action next, well, 22nd.
I mean, it's for, sunshine legislation tonight for the TO, the CIP, which will be attached to the temporary budget, and 4 pieces for the temporary budget, and then lastly, the remaining land analysis that need to be done. Has council seen the land analysis for, that need to be, they'll be getting, land analysis will be given a free reading, but has council received the land analysis? Last one.
I just received those today. I think we wanted to get the caption out.
They've been talking
Get
about
that out.
Dave, if you could make sure council receives, and including the new members of council will be coming in 2016, because this legislation will be sunshine and be given 3 readings. Most everything on here is Jefferson County Sheriff, $12,000 for housing, Treasurer of State of Ohio, $3,000 also for the jails, Jefferson County Sheriff for inmate costs.
Hey, what's that medical?
We got that.
We were-
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that. What's the medical part?
Medical part is going to go to
When they go what?
Trinity.
They get
For
sick.
what?
They get sick.
Or whatever.
And it's every month someone gets sick while they're in there? Stay out of jail.
They trip.
And then we're paying the bill.
Right, that's why we give them community service.
Yeah.
There's an Ohio Revised Code statute that makes municipalities responsible for the medical care if the person's in jail. But I might
On our
add,
charge.
yeah, on our
Not
charge.
state charge.
Right. And I talked to Judge Massey and the other judges, and they're very aware of when somebody is sick, about, getting them out of jail, so that the city doesn't incur some of these problems. So it all depends how severe the penalty is that they're served. So we're always on the lookout, because sometimes you can really get nicked. Some people all of a sudden decide to go in and get
Well, some of these bills are
medical.
$6,000.
I did ask, Mr. Chairman, I asked the finance director to get a little more expanded, as we usually do, expanded explanation of each and every item. So we certainly-
Most of them are,
we certainly will have that
we've
with
seen.
council.
Nothing's really too out. We have a couple issues dealing with insurance, that deductibles and things that we've had to pay due to accidents. And then deductibles and some of our computer equipment. That's what those line analysis are for. But those will be given for readings, so it'll be 14th next year. Okay. Anything else, Mike? Kenny?
Do we have a breakdown of how much it costs? Is it in the book about how much it costs us to house the criminals and to pay their insurance?
Pretty much it's actual cost, whatever those bills are.
I mean, do we know how much that is for like 2015?
Well, we don't pay to house them. Like the jail is given, I think gives us maybe 30, 35 slots for the city. So he doesn't charge us for that, but he does charge us for
The fee?
for feeding them and for medical.
You're asking for a tally.
Yeah, so
For every
we
month that we
understand-
pay this then and now, is what he's asking. January until December.
We'd have
Is that what you're asking?
I'm
I'd
not
like to know myself.
To just give us an idea of what we spend, I think it's probably upwards of $300,000.
It's not that much. It's
Not that much.
We got that, I know we got that.
We have part of it, we have a lot of hard time getting the bills from.
I know
the jail.
they don't come across.
I mean, I think like, one of the den and outs you're gonna see, we got bills for the entire summer all at once. And they happen to be more than what we had a purchase order for.
I believe it's on page 2 of 20. In your books.
Under what tab, Mayor?
One.
One, okay, thank you.
Under tab 1, that's the 2016.
Yeah, that's the one projected for 2016.
We have 120,000 projected.
I'm sorry, what was that date?
I have 120,000 projected. We have right now we have a large purchase order open this year, that'll get us into next year.
Dave, can we provide the action
Yeah.
for 2015? We will do that.
Thank you. Anything further?
Yeah.
Yes, Rob.
Dave, on this, the 7/10 and the 3/10 levy, this is the police and fire, other.
It's all other municipal employees in the general fund.
This is all payroll
That's 9 million some. Is that what you're saying?
right here. It says personal budget.
All personnel. That's payroll, that's benefits, of course, healthcare, any payroll taxes that we pay on behalf of the employee, workers' comp.
So that's all payroll and all
Yeah.
continuing payroll, fire, and the other would be admin or
Everybody else,
everybody
yes.
else. Then below here is where it says the allocation, 85%, the general fund.
That's our 3 times levy. 85 goes into our general fund, 15% goes into our street fund.
What, this 85% is for the general fund, where does that go?
Because that's all salaries. That money-
That's all
that money is
salaries?
For municipal employee salaries, most of it being police and fire.
This is added, this is, take some of this in.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little hard to separate that, but, because it's a lot of money going into one pot, but
Then the 7/10, the same thing, would apply to that too, the general fund, that would go into just salaries.
Well, no, because
Primarily
like,
salaries.
your 7/10 it breaks it out to equipment,
Well,
recreation.
Yeah, but the general fund part here, the $2.3 million, that would be for the salaries, and the rest of it to break down for street fund, city equipment, and
Yes.
recreation.
Yeah, all the excess after you pay for your specific funds dumps into the general.
So at the bottom, this rec fund, this $100,000, does that go to the payroll, or does that
No,
go to
that
that?
goes for.
only capital
Capital
improvements. It's specifically earmarked for that. Unfortunately, we can't use it to pay payroll.
Playground.
Yeah, typically anything over $5,000 that has an extended useful life.
The last time it was voted on, council decided to change that language. Because before it just went in recreation.
Now it's for capital
Right.
improvement,
Yeah.
100,000.
10 years ago, they made sure it went for.
Well, if I could, if they don't use that, it carries over. If you have a big project, correct.
So if we don't use any of that 100,000, next year we get
It's-
200,000.
Exactly. And that's happened in the past where we haven't used the whole thing, and then we covered or did something really major the following.
Right, you can save it up.
Exactly.
And we can use that for repairs on the pool or anything that's
Absolutely.
staying in recreation.
Absolutely.
Well, capital improvements that have, I believe, 5 years.
But
Well, at least several years to make that argument of a capital expense. Typically 5 years.
generally acceptance 5 years.
Well, we set that, council sets that where that goes, where it's earmarked for, right?
No, the voters vote on that $100,000 went to
The
recreation
project.
for.
I know that, but the $100,000, the $100,000 is earmarked to go straight for capital improvements. It can't be changed for 20% to this, 80% for that, okay.
The only way you could change it is the next time it comes up on the ballot, yeah, like you guys can change your ballot language and change your percentage and stuff like that before the vote.
I don't mind that, I just like to use a little bit for the pool, but it's not a capital program. I just like to keep the pool open by using some of that money, is all I'm getting at. But we can't do that, you're saying.
Operating to pay salaries now.
You have to change it back to probably recreation.
That would change the whole.
That's where I'm going.
You change the whole parameter of the levy. You wouldn't go from a renewal, would it? You would go to almost a new levy almost at that point, because you're changing the language.
The percentages are staying the same, so you.
Same money, it's just, I want to use it some way out, I want to use it a different way.
In the next 5 years, if we still have it, you guys could change your, how you want to spend it.
Okay, okay, I understand it now, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Will we adjourn?
Oh, he's not here.